Greetings, Grace Community Church. Over the next few days, we'll be covering Exodus 37 through 40, Numbers 9, 15 through 23, and also the whole chapter of Numbers 7. These verses describe the construction of the tabernacle and its utensils and culminate with the enthronement of God as King of Israel. Now, jumping ahead for a moment to the New Testament, Hebrews 8 through 9 discusses the significance of the tabernacle and explicitly states it is symbolic of a heavenly reality. The author of Hebrews describes Christ as our high priest walking into a more perfect tabernacle, and even though the author describes the tabernacle in some detail, he also says, "But we cannot discuss these things in detail now." Notice that the author of Hebrews is describing a heavenly tabernacle not made with hands. The author is introducing us to something that biblical scholars call cosmic geography. What is cosmic geography? Well, think back to the 1500s, where Copernicus gave us a heliocentric model of the universe in which we realized that the Earth and the planets revolved around the sun. And before that, we had a geocentric model of the universe in which we thought that the sun and the stars and everything else revolved around the Earth. Before our modern astronomical theories, people across the ancient world understood the universe very differently, and much of the Bible's symbolism reflects this ancient way of imagining the universe. That's what we mean by cosmic geography. So between today and tomorrow, we're going to unpack some of the symbolism of the tabernacle, and we'll see that a lot of this symbolism has to do with the idea of cosmic geography. But to do this, we have to make a couple of detours through Genesis and Exodus to see the greater context. So, beginning with Genesis. When God creates the universe over 7 days in Genesis 1, the text maps out for us a structured universe with distinct regions. We have the inhabited earth below, where we all live, and it's separated from the cosmic ocean by the sky above, also called the firmament. Pay attention to this because this firmament comes back quite a bit. The firmament separates the waters above from the waters below, and this special ordering distinguishes ordinary human space from the divine heavenly realm, though the divine presence often visits earthly space. This is a cosmic framework shared widely across the ancient Near East. When we get to the story of the Garden of Eden, something really special takes place. We encounter the same cosmic geography, but now the divine presence appears within human space. There is a land called Eden, with it a garden, and at the garden's center stands the tree of life. Here God communes directly with humanity. Eden thus parallels the ordered world of Genesis 1, except that God's presence is located at the center of human life, rather than associated only with the heavens far above the firmament. When Adam is placed in the garden, he is told to take care of it, using two verbs often translated to serve and to keep. When these verbs appear together elsewhere in the Old Testament, they frequently describe the duties of priests who minister in the tabernacle, and later, who minister in the temple. This suggests that Eden is not only presented as a map of the ordered world with God at its center, but also that humanity's role within the garden resembles the later work of the priests who serve in sacred space. In this sense, human life in Eden anticipates priestly service in Israel. Humanity's original calling is to serve as God's priests in God's world. But as we all know, humanity was expelled from the garden and separated from God's immediate presence. So, that brings us to Exodus. In the Hebrew Bible, the very first word of the book of Exodus is the word "and." Some translations leave this word out, and others translate it as "now." But this little word is important because the author is signaling that Exodus is a continuation of the story we just left in Genesis. It's a clue as to what the book of Exodus is about. Next, in Exodus 1:7, we see the Israelites described as fruitful, prolific, strong, and filling the land. This language is drawn directly from Genesis' creation narrative about new life filling the earth. Israel is being presented as a new creation. At this point, Egypt functions as a kind of a womb in which Israel is gestating until it's ready to be born. The book of Exodus carries this analogy even further as we encounter the crossing of the Red Sea, which is an explicit analogy of birth. Throughout the book of Exodus, encounters with God are described using this creation language, sometimes in many, many layers. What does all this mean, and what does this have to do with our Bible reading and the creation of the tabernacle? So we can summarize this in a single statement. By the time we arrive at the construction of the tabernacle, the Exodus story has portrayed God as reordering the world itself, creating a new humanity and restoring the divine presence among his people, reestablishing the communion between God and humanity, reestablishing a communion that was lost when humanity was expelled from the garden.